to the March 18th meeting. We will start with a public hearing tonight with the Witmer Road Subdivision preliminary plat, and then we'll move on to the regular town board meeting. Welcome. Tim, and if you want to take over and give a brief presentation as to what the proposal is. If anybody wishes to speak or comment about the subdivision for or against, or just make comments in general, you have 3 minutes. And after that time, they'll be asked to sit down and let the next person speak. And then when that's complete, if someone else has any further comments, you're welcome to get up and speak again. But we want to give anybody an opportunity to speak. Thank you. Can you hear me, Rita? Witmer Road Subdivision.
And I can help with that. Everybody, my name is Tim Zuber. I'm here with Wendell.
Maybe if you read the public hearing notice.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held at 2800 Church Road, North Tonawanda, New York, on Monday, March 18th at 7 p.m. on the proposed Witmer Road Subdivision preliminary plat. Anyone interested may attend and be heard. Thank you.
Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to talk and drive on the computer at the same time here. But as you're aware that the town board has been looking into developing a parcel of land. It's actually the next parcel over to the west, and it goes in between this campus and Witmer Road. Let's sneak onto another page here. The existing lot is a 34.73 acre lot. And what the town is proposing to do is to subdivide that lot. 4.13 acres of that lot that fronts along Witmer Road would be further subdivided into 10 single-family residential lots. The area is all zoned R2, but they would be actually built as R1 lots, single-family residential lots. So they all meet the minimum setback requirements and lot dimensions and areas for single-family residential homes. The remaining acreage of the lot is about 30.6 acres, and that would remain the ownership of the town. Further use of that lot is not yet determined at this time. There are notes on the plat map that we actually have on there that at the time the land may be developed in the future for town purposes, but it's just so people, anyone who buys a lot there would know that something could go in there in the future. Excuse me. So I'm going to jump over to an aerial real quick. So you can see the lot is basically in this general area. The southern portion of the lot was recently farmed for soybeans as recently as this past fall. We actually held up some of the design work to wait until they harvested their crop. But only the front 200 feet along Witmer Road is what will be developed as part of the houses. Again, they're single-family residential houses that'll actually look very similar to what the other side of the street looks. So those are about the same size houses and same size lots that are over there now. Lots are graded to drain to the front, to the road, and to the back, which at one point we're going to bring a drainage pipe up to join the roadside ditch. And actually the roadside ditch will be realigned and filled in with a storm sewer pipe. That will take the rear yard drainage plus drainage from the road. There'll be a yard drain put in everybody's property line on the right-of-way, so it'll facilitate drainage on that side of the road. Similar to what happens on the other side of the road, but I don't believe they're quite as tightly spaced on that side. Driveway slopes for each of the lots will be about 2% grade from the garages down to the street, and the remaining lots will be drained to drain either to the front to Witmer Road or to the back to the rear yard swales. You can tell almost by the discoloration on here that this is where a farmer's ditch was cut through the field. So we're going to maintain connection with that up to the front ditch. And other than that, that's about really all I have to say about the subdivision. Again, there's going to be 10 lots. And this is the preliminary plat process. So
the lots all meet the minimum requirements as established by our zoning law.
Yes, they do.
And the utilities are available at the site.
That's a great point, and I missed. Yes, there is both sanitary sewer and water service, water lines that are up and down this road. Actually, they're both on the on the east side of the road, so they are in the front yards of where these houses would go. There's gas there. There's electric, overhead electric on the other side of the street, which actually crosses right near the intersection to Furchin on the utility pole for a light post. So there is also a large diameter Niagara County sewer main that does go across the southern part of the site. That's part of the sewer district's main collector line. So I'll get back to our it's along the western or the southern side of the site, and then it does a little jog and heads down Furchin. So that last lot down there is a little oversized. Instead of the 80-foot minimum frontage, it's 100 foot because they will have 40 foot of that lot that they won't be able to build anything on because of that easement. So I believe the agreement with the farmer will still be in place to continue farming the back portion of the lot. So other than that, it won't really change much from what it looks like there now.
Right. And just as a memo, there was a focus group that worked on developing the town center, which would be directly behind that towards the town hall here. And I know a lot of people put a lot of work and effort into that. However, the town board, after reviewing the economy, has made the decision that the timing is not now. It could be 10 years from now. It could be 15 years from now. We appreciate the amount of work the focus groups have put into it, but the timing is just not now for that town center. So the town board is really not looking into developing anything other than those lots on Witmer Road at this time. And of course, it only makes sense. There's single-family dwellings there now, and this is a perfect fit to have single families with single families, rather than something that wouldn't be compatible. So that's where the town board's position is, and if, well, with that, if anybody has any comments or questions, okay, come on down, please. Hi, Rita.
Good evening. Tim, that piece of property is below grade of the road, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So what is the town going to do to bring the elevation up for those homes so that they are above the road level? Can you fill of some sort?
There will need to be fill supplemented in there. They'll get a little bit of material out of the basement,
right?
But it's not going to be enough to balance the rest of the site. So there'll have to be material brought in.
Is there a concern about where the fill comes from to make sure that it's sanitary? Because we know that there's a lot of excavation done in areas that are less than desirable for residential construction.
Well, that would definitely be a concern, and we wouldn't want anything other than clean material here.
Mm-hmm.
As we go through the final phase of this development, this is the preliminary plat. As we go to final plat, that's where the remaining details of that will be worked out. We'll have some estimates of how much fill would be needed for each lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then the decisions, one of the decisions that will need to be made is who is going to be bringing that fill in. Is it going to be by the builder of each lot? So is the builder and the owner going to be responsible for that? Or are there other locations of fill that, is there going to be some brought in ahead of time? We haven't worked out those.
And I can assure you, Rita, and as you know, I was building inspector for many years. I work with Mike and our engineers to assure that, in fact, it is clean fill, and ask for a clean sheet on that fill before it's brought into the town of Wheatfield.
Mm-hmm. I know that there are a number of areas on the town property where there are mountains of dirt. For instance, behind the youth center, there's a huge mountain. Is that something that can be utilized, or does that have a designated use?
I think it's more of a reserve if the town needed it. I think if the property, and that's something that the town board hasn't decided yet, obviously we'll have the property appraised, and whether we sell it individually or, we're not in the real estate business, we'll probably have to deal with a real estate appraiser and someone to locally to sell the property. I'm hoping to sell it all at one time. But again, I think they would have to supply their own fill, and there's a lot of fill out there, and I talked to Tim about it today. that property is a couple feet lower than the road, so there's definitely going to need some fill.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ruth. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Rodney Renard. I live at 7027 Witmer Road, which is right next to the open field,
Okay.
right before Furton. And I bought this house about 7 years ago. And I'm 100% against having any buildings going up. There is so much traffic right now in that area. Sometimes in the morning, I can't get out of my driveway. They're coming down Virgin, they're coming down Witmer, and the same thing happens also in the evening. It's a non-stop cars. If more housing goes in, it's going to be worse. And at this point, I don't think it's a great idea to do that. If they're going to put houses, why don't they put it on the other side of the boulevard, where there's a lot of open road? That's all I really got to say.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Fran, come on down.
I too am concerned about the traffic. There was just a bad accident on Sky and Niagara Falls Boulevard, and the traffic is getting very bad in that area, so I too am concerned about the traffic. But I'm more concerned about the water. Which way is the water going to go? Not to me, right? Any of the water flow?
No, the water at this location actually flows west. It flows into the David Drive ditch.
So it's not going to come towards me?
No.
So I care about.
Thank you, Fran. You know, and I understand what you're saying about traffic, and I live on Nash. Pardon me? Well, you know, I mean, I live on Nash Road, and I also have kids going to the college, and you know, it's one of those things that I have to deal with myself. Sometimes I have to wait to get out. But the fact is, the property is suitable for construction for home. And it's one of the things that we could do is a traffic study, but I can't believe that the 10 homes, and I'm being honest with you, would have a large impact on the traffic in that area.
If it gets worse, it's going to be worse.
Well, you know, but we
Houses, you're looking to put right alongside my house?
yeah. Anyway, but just letting you know, I mean, we deal with that in many roads in town, and I know Witmer Road, a lot of people cut through to the city of North Tonawanda and out to River Road. I understand it. Anyone else would like to speak?
I'm Danny Thaler. I live right next to Rodney.
Okay.
I'm worried about the ditch from Rodney's property. All the water's going to go to his property.
Tim? Where is that again, sir?
The ditch right next to his property and the wheel, all the way to
next to whose property?
Rodney's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the ditch that's alongside
And it
the
goes
field?
to our backyard, the big ditch at the back.
Mm-hmm.
But it gets his, grass is always flooded. Comes from the field to his farm.
So
Yeah.
there won't be anything done to that ditch. If anything, it might get cleaned out to give it a little more positive grade from the back up to the front.
It's worried
But
when
we're
they put
actually
the
gonna be
houses, the
heating
water
it up.
come to the ditch more, and the flood his yard more.
The side yard will come down to the ditch, the side yard of the house. Yes, roof
Goes
drains
down
will
the
come
ditch
up and be
that could
connected.
definitely have to
Well,
dig it deeper.
They may have to deepen the ditch.
Way, yeah,
They
that
may have
without doubt.
change the whole structure of the ditch, and that would be part of the design.
That ditch goes right next to the sewer lines there.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Okay.
One of the things, just so everybody is aware out there, that our survey actually revealed is, if you look at that ditch that runs from your lot, the roadside ditch along Witmer that runs north to where the culverts are and the stream crosses, that ditch is made up of pipes that are crushed and collapsed, and some that have been put in at various elevations, so there's not a nice constant slope going through there. And if you'll see some areas of that ditch are actually full and holding water, while others are draining all the way. One of the improvements that we'll do is starting from right down to this lower corner, all the way up to where the stream crosses, there'll be a 15-inch storm pipe that's put in on a nice, constant, steady slope, so that we'll have positive drainage along that roadside ditch, which will be storm pipes now, but that will help to provide positive drainage for that ditch instead of it all backing up along the way. There are several culverts that are in there for crossings to access existing manholes and hydrants, and just over the years, they've all been in various levels of decay. So this will be a good replacement for that whole drainage alongside the street.
One other thing I want to ask too, where he's talking about, you need a cop there all the time. They all constantly blow the stop signs, constantly. Yeah, either that or I can't get. Same thing. I turn on the driver, they whoop around the corner, don't even stop.
I can just, and I know it's not talking about the subdivision, but I just want you to know that we are have a meeting tonight, a brief meeting with our constables. After the meeting, we're looking at modifying our law to allow our constables to not only post but issue tickets when someone runs a stop sign, a school zone, etc. So we're looking at modifying our law, but we had to do some research to make sure we could do it, and we've done that, and we're going to meet with our constables after this meeting tonight. So if it does become a problem and it's chronic, we can have constables over there not only just posting them but issuing tickets, and hopefully that'll happen sometime in the near future. Okay? So all you'd have to do is call our head constable or call my office, and if there's a problem, we've had problems on many subdivisions where people run stop signs. And, you know, sometimes we call the sheriff department, and it burdens them if they're out on an accident call to go and watch stop signs. So it would benefit the sheriff department with our constables being able to pull people over for running stop signs, running lights. I mean, they would have to get special training to do this, but we're willing to do it with our constables. So if that problem, if we handle that, that'll make it better for you. All you got to do is call us. Okay? So, anyone else? Motion to close the public hearing? That's a motion. Motion and second.